The Atlanta Falcons sit at 4-4 on the season, heading into this matchup against the Denver Broncos, which isn't really ideal territory for a team coming off the Super Bowl victory. But we'll have to see if the Falcons can turn things around here. But it didn't start off very well for the Falcons as Courtland Sutton makes a big grab, getting down to the 37. A few plays later, Russell Wilson would throw another dime over to Sutton. But on 3rd and goal from the 1, the Falcons would stand tall, holding the Broncos to a field goal. Desmond Ridder, who's been struggling so far in his 3rd year in the league, would throw a pick on the very next drive as Justin Simmons comes down with it. Wilson would look to get the Broncos into the end zone here, but Arnold Ebiketie had different plans as he sacks him there, leading to the Broncos kicking a field goal once again. Ridder looked to make up for the interception on the previous drive, but then he would throw yet another one. So far he has 15 interceptions on the season, and he leads the league by far. So Russell Wilson and company look to capitalize here as he throws left side to a wide open receiver, and he'd get all the way down to the Atlanta 35. That would lead to yet another field goal for the Broncos to make it 9-0. But the Falcons would end up getting down the field and kicking a field goal of their own, making it 9-3. And after getting a defensive stop, they had one last chance to get some points on the board before the half, as Ridder finds Kyle Pitts in an absolute dime up to the Denver 26. But that wouldn't last very long as Ridder would throw his 3rd interception of the game, once again by Justin Simmons, and the Falcons would go into the half down 9-3 against the Broncos. So the Falcons will get the football to start the second half, and Ridder finds D'Angelo McQueen, who gets up to the 36-yard line. Ronald Jones would follow up with a really nice run into Denver territory, and then Ridder would almost throw his 3rd interception of the game, but a hell of a catch by DeJarvis Johnsonberg would keep the drive alive. On 3rd and 1, Ridder would throw left side to Drake London, who broke away from a defender, and he would get into the end zone for the first touchdown of the game. The Falcons would lead 10-9. So now the Broncos look to respond as Russell Wilson rolls over to the right, and he's going to find a wide open Courtland Sutton, who's up to the 20-yard line. And then on 3rd and 13, Wilson rolls to his left, looking to make something happen, and he dumps it off to his running back, who picks up the first down. So now 2nd and goal, Wilson looking over the middle, and he would find Sutton, who'd get into the end zone for the Broncos touchdown, and a failed 2-point conversion would make it 15-10. Once again, the Falcons are playing from behind as Ridder lets this one fly. Kyle Pitts comes down with it inside the 30. That would lead to the Falcons getting to the 1-yard line, and Ridder would find Drake London for their 2nd connection of the game. The Falcons would convert a 2-point conversion to make it 18-15. The Broncos still had some fight in them, however, as Wilson would find Okwuegbunam, who gets out of bounds. Then the Broncos will get into Falcons territory as Wilson finds Okwuegbunam once again. But on 2nd and goal, Johnson would get blown up by Deion Jones. He coughs the football up and Troy Anderson picks it up, with Russell Wilson making a touchdown-saving tackle. The Falcons would end up punting it with about 2 minutes to go, and Jake Bailey absolutely nailed this one, with Dane Cruikshank downing it at the 2. The Broncos would have one last chance to get into the end zone or kick a field goal as they started the drive deep within their own territory, but then Courtland Sutton would get a big gain into Falcons territory, and now, with 15 seconds to go, Wilson trying to make a play, throws to the right on the run, and he's intercepted by Rashad Fenton, and that would seal the deal for the Falcons as they'd win 18-15. And this definitely wasn't the best effort for Desmond Ridder, who threw 3 picks in the game, but he was able to keep his head up and he led the Falcons to the victory. So now the Falcons look to keep their winning ways intact as they head to Green Bay to take on 2nd-year quarterback Thomas Pleasant and the Green Bay Packers. Pleasant would start off pleasantly as he'd go right side to Zach Pascal, who makes a big grab over A.J. Terrell for the Packers touchdown to make it 7-0. The Falcons would look to respond on the very next drive as Ridder lets this one fly left side with a big catch by Calvin Ridley to get inside the 20. A few plays later, Ridder on the play fake would find Garrison Best, the backup tight end, and he'd work his way into the end zone for the touchdown to tie us up at 7. Packers would look to take the lead back here as Pleasant, off the play fake, finds a wide open tight end who makes the grab. But then on 3rd and 7, Pleasant would get run down by Arnold Ebiketie, who leads the league in sacks at the moment, and that would lead to a Packers field goal. So now 3rd and 10 for the Falcons. Ritter lets it fly, and Drake London makes a hell of a grab, and he's going to get to the 33. That would lead to Tyler Algier punching it in for the touchdown to make it 14-10. The Packers would look to respond, but Arnold Ebiketie came through for a half sack with Taquan Graham to make it 2nd and 15. And then on the very next play, Ebiketie would beat Jack Conklin and get to Pleasant once again for another sack. The Packers would end up punting it, but then the Falcons would go 3 and out. Now Aaron Jones gets a big run. Then 2 plays later, 2nd and 3. Pleasant throws over the middle to find his receiver up to the 18. That'd lead to a field goal to make it 14-13, and then Ritter finds Kyle Pitts deep to the right as he gets into Packers territory. 2 plays later, Ritter can't find anybody open, so he decides to take matters into his own hands, and he picks up the first down on the ground. That would lead to another field goal to make it 17-13, but on the ensuing kickoff, Jerry Cook would take it all the way back for a kick 6 for the Packers to make it 20-17 with a minute to go in the first half. The Falcons would look to get down the field and get a field goal before the end of the half, and a huge throw to B-Rye, Brian Edwards, would lead to a Younghoe field goal to make it 20-all heading into the half. So now the Falcons look to take the lead in the second half as Ritter has Brian Edwards open but overthrows him, and is picked off by Jair Alexander. And now the Packers would look to take advantage as Pleasant finds Zach Pascal once again, who gets inside the 40. That'd lead to a 3rd and 6, and Pascal would be wide open on the left side for the touchdown. Packers took a 27-20 lead. Atlanta would go 3 and out, and then Pleasant would be brought down for the sack, coughs up the football, but Jack Conklin's able to recover it. 2nd and 27, Aaron Jones gets some blocks, and he's going to juke out Richie Grant, and he's going to go all the way for a 49-yard touchdown run to give the Packers a 2-score lead. Now the Falcons look to respond here as Ritter finds London over the middle up to the 24. And then Ritter would look over the middle to find Rojo, who gets inside the 5. And then 1 play later, Ritter would try to punch it in on the read option, but he'd cough it up, and the Packers would recover it at the 1-yard line. But then 1st and 10 from the 24, Pleasant throws over the middle, finds Robert Tonyan, who takes a big hit, coughs up the football, and the Falcons recover it. So now they have some life here with about 8 minutes to go in the game, and now Ritter, on the play fake, lets it fly. Kyle Pitts makes a big grab at the 12-yard line. That'd lead to Tyler Algier punching it in for his 2nd touchdown of the game. That'd make it 34-27. The Falcons will get the ball after a Green Bay 3 and out, and Ritter lets it fly. Kyle Pitts comes back to it, and he makes the grab for the first down. 3rd and 8, Ritter looks right side, finds Brian Edwards, who gets to the 44. Then later on in the drive, 3rd and 11, Ritter lets it fly to Brian Edwards once again, who gets inside the 5. 1st and goal, Ritter would go left side and find Kyle Pitts, who gets into the end zone for the touchdown. And then the Falcons decide that they're going to go for 2 to take the lead with under 3 minutes to go. And Ritter finds Brian Edwards in the end zone to give the Falcons a 1-point lead. But Green Bay still had some time. Pleasant would find a receiver over the middle up to the 40. And on 2nd and 10, he would find his running back Aaron Jones out of the backfield, who'd pick up the first down and set up a potential game-winning field goal to give the Packers a 2-point lead with a minute and a half to go. Ritter would look down the field and he would find Kyle Pitts, who gets inside the 35. And on the very next play, Ritter, looking downfield, would find Drake London, who gets up to the 5-yard line. And that would set up what you would think would be a chip shot field goal for Younghoe from 22 yards out. But this game really hates me, and we end up missing the field goal, and the Packers win 37-35 as the Falcons choke this one away. Go ahead and get your jokes in. Zach Pascal had a huge game for the Packers, 7 catches, 126 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Desmond Ritter put up 458 yards and 2 touchdowns in this one, but also threw a pick. So now the Falcons would look for their first sweep of the Saints since 2016, as they look to bounce back after a heartbreaking loss to the Packers. Things wouldn't start off very well for the Saints as Alvin Kamara would cough it up at the 50-yard line, with Trayvon Diggs picking it up for the Falcons. Unfortunately, Atlanta couldn't do anything with it, and then here's the throw by Davis Mercer over the head of Trayvon Diggs is Slant Boy making the grab, and it's 7-0 Saints. Falcons look to respond here as Ritter finds Kyle Pitts right side, and Pitts is going to get into the end zone for the Falcons to knot us up at 7. But now here's Ritter after a 3-and-out by the Saints. He'd cough it up as he's hit across the line of scrimmage, and Demario Davis would pick it up for the Saints. Now Mercer would go left side, and he'd turn it over as Trayvon Diggs makes the grab over Michael Thomas. But the Falcons wouldn't do anything with it, and then Alvin Kamara breaks a few tackles, gets a few blocks, and he is gone 76 yards to the house as the Saints take the lead. And the Falcons wouldn't do anything with the ball. Now here's Michael Thomas coughing it up as it's yet another turnover for the Saints, picked up by A.J. Terrell. So now the Falcons look to capitalize as Ritter finds Garrison Best, who gets out of bounds at the 44. 3rd and 6, Ritter steps up into the pocket, finds Drake London who breaks a tackle, and he gets up to the 24-yard line. Very next play, Ritter would let it fly to B-Rye, although it's another dangerous pass, and Edwards gets up to the 3. Bad setup, Ritter finding Drake London once again for the touchdown to knot us up at 14. Saints look to respond here as Adam Troutman breaks a tackle, and he gets a really nice run after the catch up to the 36. And then very next play, Mercer would go right side and be intercepted by Derwin James. So now the Falcons have a chance to take the lead of their own. Ritter goes left side, and Calvin Ridley makes a hell of a grab up to the 39. With under a minute to go, Ritter would go right side to find Kyle Pitts in double coverage for the Falcons touchdown. And Atlanta would take a 21-14 lead into the second half. Now 3rd and 3 as Ritter throws off balance and he's able to find London, who stiff arms a defender and gets up to the 42. That would lead to a Younghoe field goal from about 55 yards out. Now the Saints are down by 10, and then Alvin Kamara makes a nice catch, but then coughs the football up and it's picked up by Atlanta. And just so many turnovers in this game for the Saints. So now the Falcons look to capitalize as Ritter goes right side, but he's intercepted by Marshawn Lattimore, and that gives New Orleans new life as they look to capitalize here, getting inside the 12, but then Mercer's going to be intercepted yet again by Rashad Fenton, and he is going ghost all the way to the end zone for the touchdown as the Falcons have a 3-score lead. Alvin Kamara would fumble it on the very next drive, and things just are going from bad to worse for the Saints. But now Ritter, looking down the field, lets it fly, and it is caught by Kyle Pitts inside the 5. So the Falcons get another field goal on the board to make it 34-14. The Saints trying to stay alive in this one as there's a completion from Mercer, but then the receiver would cough the football up, and it's recovered once again by the Falcons. The Saints turned the ball over 8 times in this game, and then Ritter, trying to put the game away, would instead give new life to the Saints as he throws up pick 6, making it a 2-score game. And the Saints would get one more touchdown, this one to Adam Troutman, to make it a 1-score game. But they ended up kicking it deep to the Falcons to trust their defense. That was a poor decision as Blasingame puts it away, and the Falcons win this one 34-28. Kyle Pitts had a huge game, 5 catches, 134 yards, and 2 touchdowns, as the Falcons sweep the Saints for the first time since 2016. The Falcons reignite their old rivalry with the Eagles on Thanksgiving night, as the Falcons look to avoid dropping back to 500. A.J. Terrell would miss this game due to a quad strain, and going up against A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, without your top corner, just isn't a good recipe for success. Things would start off really well for the Eagles as Elijah Bass would pull it back on a read option and get into Falcons territory. That would lead to a field goal to give Philly an early 3-0 lead. The Falcons did nothing with their first possession, but then Bass is going to be intercepted by Brian Orchard, who was working against A.J. Brown. And now the Falcons would get to work as Ritter steps up, throws left side, and Calvin Ridley makes a big grab up to the 29. Then Ritter, a few plays later, would go back to Ridley, this time into the end zone for the Falcons touchdown. They take a 7-3 lead. Philly would do nothing with the football. Now here's Drake London making a grab and getting past the 50. A few plays later, Ritter on the play fake would roll to his left, and he'd end up running for the first down instead of trying to force it down the field. That'd lead to a field goal for Younghoe Koo to make it 10-3. The Eagles look to respond as Bass throws left side to A.J. Brown, and he gets a big gain up to about the 24-yard line. That'd lead to another field goal for the Eagles, make it 10-3. And then the Falcons would get right back to work as Ritter steps up in the pocket, lets it fly to B-Rye, and Bryan Edwards is going to run into the end zone for the touchdown to make it 17-6. But Philly would look to respond as Bass throws right side, finds Devontae Smith, but he coughs it up. Huge hit by Derwin James, and Deion Jones picks it up. So now the Falcons look to turn this one into a blowout as Kyle Pitts makes the grab down the field, getting up to the 40. 2nd and 10 for Desmond Ritter and company as he throws right side, finding B-Rye once again, who gets inside the 30. That would lead to what would have been a field goal attempt, but instead the Falcons run a fake and Koo is nearly picked off. So the Falcons come away with nothing, and it's 17-6 heading into the second half. So now the Falcons with the football to start the second half, and Ritter is intercepted almost immediately. And Philly now has new life after the Kazir White interception. But then 3rd and 5, Troy Anderson runs down Miles Sanders. That leads to a field goal to make it 17-9. But then Ronald Jones would start to take over in the second half as he has 2 big runs to get the Falcons to the 31 of Philly. In 3rd and 13, Ritter steps up, lets it fly, and he finds B-Rye once again, who gets to the 9. 2nd and goal, Rojo would punch it in to give the Falcons a 2-score lead once again. Then Falcons would get the ball right back. Ritter tried to throw it to Rojo, but he's intercepted. Just not a very good throw. And then the Eagles would look to capitalize. Bass gonna throw over the middle to A.J. Brown for the touchdown, and it's a 1-score game. The Falcons look to respond. Ritter lets it fly right side, and Pitts makes the grab at midfield. Then 2nd and 11, Ritter steps up, throws over the middle to Rojo, and he's going to get up to the 23. Then 1st and 10, Ritter would let it fly to Pitts. He's going to get into the end zone despite the pass interference, and that would give the Falcons a 2-score lead once again. Philly looking to respond, running out of time. Bass going to throw across his body, and that's rule number 1 of being a quarterback. You never throw across your body, and Rashad Fenton makes him pay. Bass would actually leave the game due to injury on that play, and then Devontae Smith would get a garbage time touchdown, but the Falcons would end up winning this one 34-23. Bryan Edwards had a big game, 5 catches, 111 yards, and a touchdown. Ritter finished 21-33, 355 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 picks. So looking at the divisions, the Bengals lead the AFC North at 9-2 with the Browns right behind them. The Colts in the AFC South have a half-game lead over the Titans. The Patriots and Bills are tied in first place in the AFC East. And the Chiefs have a commanding lead in the AFC West. In the NFC, the Packers in the NFC North lead by 2 games over the Vikings. We currently have a 1-game advantage over the Panthers, who beat us earlier in the season. The Cowboys have a 1-game lead over the Giants. And the Cardinals and Seahawks are tied at 7-4.